There is a particular kind of internal friction familiar to many of us. You can be sitting on a pier by a lake, a picture of tranquility, and yet realize with a jolt, everywhere I go, I don't feel safe. I just feel a constant state of being overwhelmed. It's a pain that manifests as a tense stomach, a horrific, persistent ache that never really goes away. This experience isn't a personal failing. It is a profoundly human one, stemming not from the external moment itself, but from how our nervous system is interpreting that moment. The core of this anxiety is the perception of threat, a state created not by the world outside, but by the state of the body and the specific configuration of neurotransmitters in our brain. When we are dysregulated, our biology is primed for danger, and it will find evidence for that danger everywhere it looks. What we experience is a reality filtered through a nervous system that is already bracing for impact. The problem, therefore, is not the world. The problem is the lens. This understanding shifts the entire paradigm of personal change. To find peace, we must first look inward, not outward, and deconstruct the architecture of this perceived threat. To move beyond a state of chronic agitation and worry, it is essential to understand its source. This feeling is not an abstract fog. It is a fire fueled by specific, deeply rooted internal patterns. When we can name these patterns, we can begin to dismantle their power over us. At its heart, this internal state is one dominated by fear, anxiety, anguish, and inferiority. It's a lens that makes the world appear hostile and lacking. This state can be traced back to a core wound, the belief that one must have results in order to receive love. This creates an obsession with external validation and an endless need for constant dopamine upkeep. The drive to optimize and improve becomes a function of this fear, a fear of not having enough, of losing what one has. This internal engine runs constantly, leading to soul-crushing uncertainty and a life of constant exhaustion. Living with this undercurrent of horrific anxiety, depression, fear, and shame requires an immense amount of energy, leading to a desire for isolation simply because you're not being your authentic self. The pressure to perform while managing this internal state leads to a profound disconnect. Existential sadness can feel like no one is as self-aware as you are in most conversations. This is a reflection of your growth and dedication to being authentic, and this can at times feel like a burden. Being a fully realized, authentic human being can trigger shame in others not willing to do the same. This reality can even turn your potential into a source of self-reproach. Your presence can trigger an immediate feeling of failure for those not actively pursuing it, but remain steady. You deserve to shine. Recognizing these dynamics is the critical first step. But be warned, right before you bloom into something beautiful and powerful, the old self will come and try to sabotage you, paradoxically trying to keep you safe through locking you inside the paradigm of the old reality. Understanding this pattern of sabotage for what it is, a final, desperate grasp for control by an outdated system, is the pivot point toward a new way of being. In that moment, ground yourself, stay regulated, and wait to make important decisions until you feel calm. Then you'll be free, placing your feet firmly on new ground. The most profound shift in this journey occurs when we stop trying to change external circumstances and turn our focus to our internal architecture. This is a form of alchemy, not of turning lead into gold, but of transforming our own perception, and in doing so, transforming our reality. The fundamental principle is that one can only be entrapped by believing in the story of their own unfreedom. As in the Matrix, we come to realize there is nothing to bend but the spoon, ourselves. Our reality is a direct reflection of our internal configuration. This internal alchemy marks a transformative shift from a life that is emotionally frustrated and motivated to one where a meaningful foundation can be built. We move to one where calm becomes a source of genuine power. The goal is no longer to avoid difficulty, but to develop the strength to handle stressful situations. You cannot just retreat every time there's a conflict. You have to be strong and capable. One who cannot regulate themselves cannot become the empowered creator they have the opportunity to be. But they can, and they will. We can see this transformation in how the nervous system learns and adapts. The triggers don't necessarily vanish, but their power diminishes. The same triggers can come up again and again, But the time you spend closing them and shutting them down, then feeling calm, becomes shorter and shorter. You are learning how to regulate yourself. This capacity for internal change is not a mystical gift, but a skill built upon a new set of foundational principles. Consciously designing one's internal world is not a passive wish, but an active process of construction. It requires building a new foundation for the self, one based on intention, stability, and authentic connection, rather than reaction and fear. This architecture is supported by several core pillars. This is the principle that external reality is a byproduct of internal commitment. Manifestation, the life you desire, is a byproduct of devotion to yourself. This is not a selfish act, but a profound responsibility, enacted by an outward persona that is utterly devoted to giving your inner child the best life possible. Every choice is filtered through the lens of what would surprise, delight, and protect that core self. In this new architecture, emotional stability is a form of power. Leadership and the capacity to carry responsibility are impossible without it. The objective is to build a proven track record of emotional stability, demonstrating to oneself and others an ability to remain centered even under pressure. This is the prerequisite for building anything of lasting value in the world. A significant shift occurs away from seeking external approval and toward prioritizing genuine connection. The desire is no longer simply to be admired, but to be seen and loved by yourself, and to be loved for being yourself. This is a search for someone with the emotional grounding and self-awareness to meet intensity without collapsing. It is the realization that the deepest need isn't for praise or agreement. You aren't looking for conversation. What you're looking for is resonance. And that resonance comes from you in the form of self-love and the acts you take every day to stoke yourself and secure self-regulation. Living from this regulated foundation changes everything. It is not a life without problems, but a life with a fundamentally different capacity to meet them. The contrast between past and present becomes starkly, beautifully clear. Imagine being inside what would normally be a crisis. Rent is due, you are behind on work. The old programming would trigger panic, a cascade of fear and anxiety. But from a regulated state, the experience is transformed. Instead of panic, you feel safe, protected, calm, and peaceful. The external facts are the same, but the internal reality is entirely different. This new state has its own distinct physical and emotional sensations. It can feel like a constant, steady form of warmth and activity, like there's a star inside your chest. It is a state where your senses every day are blooming like flowers, and I'm seeing things in a way that is so gorgeous and beautiful. Life is no longer a threat to be managed, but a wonder to be experienced. This is the transition from happiness to its successor, peace. Happiness is a feeling that comes from having what you want in a world that is unstable. Its successor is peace. What it feels like to be in a world where your needs are provided for. Many people fear that letting go of the constant striving and anxiety will lead to a death of meaning. In reality, this transition is the discovery of a deeper, more stable form of meaning, one that is not dependent on the chaotic nature of the external world. This journey from a dysregulated perception of threat to an embodied state of calm and power is the ultimate act of self-design. It is a testament to the fact that we can consciously reconfigure our internal world. This state is not a distant dream, but an achievable reality, forged through the alchemy of self-regulation. Gone are the days of fear. The days of joy are here. Stop telling the story of your past and anchor yourself in the reality of your future. This process is challenging, but when we approach it with curiosity rather than fear, it becomes fun, thrilling, rewarding. You got this.